Why do they hate us? 80 years after the Holocaust, we still see this anti-Semitism everywhere. Of course, we saw the murder of 2 people who the shooter thought were Jewish this week. Why? Why do they hate us? For those of us steeped in Jewish history and understand what the Talmud and Medrash tells us, that Lama Shnikra Shma Sinai. Why is the mountain upon which the Torah was given called Mount Sinai? This week's Torah portion begins with Bamidbar Sinai. Hashem speaks to Moses in the desert of Sinai, and what's always read before Shavuot. Before the holiday, we received the Torah. Why is the Torah given in Sinai? The Talmud tells us, our sages tell us, Sheyarda Sina L'Umay Sa'ilam. At Mount Sinai, something else happened. The nations of the world began to hate us at a different level. Together with the Torah, we also received a good dose of hatred from the rest of the world. When you understand this, it allows you to put into the right perspective the anti-Semitism you see. You're not surprised by it. You see, for those who don't have this background and don't have this foundation, they see anti-Semitism as something that doesn't make sense. Things were pretty good for 70 years or so after the Holocaust. They did appreciate us. They did protect us. They screamed never again. They made allowed Holocaust museums. What is going on? So they say, you know why they hate us? Must be something we did or something we're doing. Individually as Jews, you start blaming yourself. Collectively as a Jewish people, the Jewish country, you blame the country. Oh, it must be because of how we're conducting the war. It must be that we're starving the Gazan people. It must be that the Prime Minister is terrible. That Tzahal is doing terrible things. Otherwise, what explains their hatred of us? But when one understands that this is part of history, nothing has changed. The hatred continues, as it always was. That this hatred wasn't just by the Nazis, it was by vast parts of the Western world. The French Vichy government sent Jews to the death camps. The British, the British were the ones who stopped Jews being able to escape the Holocaust to Israel. They stood by and watched and didn't do anything, and maybe even helped the massacre of 1929, when all over Israel at the time there were massacres of the Jewish people. Worst was in Hebron, where 69 Jews were absolutely massacred by those who they thought were their friends, those who they lived with, those who they interacted with. Just did on October 7th. It was done with sadistically, with absolute, in a most terrible way, as was October 7th. And the British, they let it go. They let it be, did nothing. They're going to lecture us. They're going to tell us about morality and ethics. The British, who arrest someone screaming Am Yisrael Chai while just the Jewish people live, allowing people screaming globalized intifada? That's what they're going to allow? Don't talk, don't lecture us. Don't tell us about morality and ethics. You don't have any. And whatever you have comes from the Torah, comes from what we gave the world. So we don't have to apologize to anyone. No one. Telling us that we're starving the Gazans? What a lie, what a blood libel. You just saw this week how they found warehouses. The Gazan civilians came into warehouses. Of course, 5 of them were killed by Hamas. And they found flour that was enough for 2 years. for Gaza, hoarded by Hamas, not wanting to give it to the people so that they could claim there's a famine, so that they can make money on it and remain in power. When you understand our history, and when you understand Torah, you know that this is an axiomatic fact for whatever reason. Yes, there are righteous Gentiles. Yes, we have many friends in this world. We do, and we're grateful to them. We have many who look up to us, who want to learn from us, who understand that the foundation of Western liberalism, if you'd like, starts from the Hebrew Bible. Why is it that you look at equality under the law, and equality on safeguarding life? Comes from the idea, as I heard from a Christian academic this week, it comes from the idea where God says every man is created in my image. That's where it originates from. That comes from the Torah. Otherwise, if there are different gods, then different people are created differently. So this is what this idea of monotheism and all of us created in God's image gives us the message of the care we have to have for every person and the right to life for every person. So it is so important for a person to understand where we come from, what begins everything, in order not to blame yourself. Jews have nothing to apologize for. Do not blame yourself. Do not blame the leadership in Israel for any of this antisemitism. It's not because of us that they hate us. Stop that. Do not think in those ways. We have to remember that we were given by God the Torah, the guide for life for us, and through us to the rest of the world. Some people are happy to embrace it, others hate us for it. And that was the story in the last 2,000 years of history, until such a time when godliness will be revealed in the world, which will happen very soon, and the entire world will recognize and realize who God's ambassadors in this world are, will follow the Jewish people, will appreciate us, will respect us, will help us, will support us. And we, in course, will be the guiding light, who are the teachers of God's message to all of humanity. Good Shabbos, and have a happy Shavuot.